Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the June 28th, 2021 Select Board meeting call to order. First order would be our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is the acceptance and correction of minutes of 6/21/21 public and non-public. I'd take a motion.
I'll make a motion, we accept the 6/21/20 public and non-public minutes with corrections if need be.
Second that.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll vote to the roll call. Mark?
Yes, sir.
Chet?
Yes.
Collis?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. Anybody have any announcements?
I have nothing.
I would like to say I'm going to read a letter that I received today. And it's addressed to myself. I wanted to take a moment to thank the Select Board, Parks and Recreation Commission, and Parks and Recreation Director Rick Wilhelmy and his staff for another great event this past Saturday. Hard to imagine that 42 years have gone by since we started this great community event. The race on Saturday was the first in the state to have the group start since the pandemic. Seeing everyone enjoying themselves and the runners and their friends and families together after such a tough year was really heartwarming. I know that I say this every year, but it is truly special for not only myself but my family to have this event named in my honor. The Gallop brings back runners and their families together year after year. So on behalf of myself, my wife Barbara, and my children Heather and Steve, as well as all the runners and their friends and families, thank you for the continued support and the great job Rick and his staff did putting on the Gallop. Looking forward to number 43, sent respectively by Dave French. It was successful to my understanding, so we had 100, what was it, 100 runners?
I think maybe just a little over 100. It was excellent. They did an awesome job.
Yeah, great. So that's my public announcement. What time is it? Derek, did you want to bring up a couple things while we have a few minutes, or?
Yeah, I was hoping we could bring up item number 7, DPW Director. I think they'll be able to fit that in the time for public comment.
Okay. Adam, come on up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so I've got a time limit on me fast. So if you go to tab 7 in your packet, you've got a memo that as of Friday was only partially filled out. We closed, at the recommendation of Municipal, we closed the online vehicle auction as soon as possible before the meeting. They said any longer and you risk kind of losing some people in between the auction and the vote. So we closed Friday afternoon. Pretty successful auction. I mentioned last meeting I spent about $100 on advertising to sort of pump up the net that we cast for this, and it seems like between that and the pandemic recovery economy here, we're doing okay with used vehicle sales because every amount we got was quite a bit more than we've had in the past for some of our surplus vehicles. So I've got some blanks to fill in for you if you'd like. For the 4 vehicles, we had a 2008 Ford Ranger, a 2008, and a 9, and a 10 Crown Victoria. So if you'd like, I can read those off.
And you have printed
We
copies.
have copies in
Great.
front of us.
Great, okay. Then if you don't need me to even do that, my recommendation for the board tonight would be to award to the highest bidder for each of those 4 vehicles. I believe you've got the bidding information and the final sales price too.
Take a motion on that.
And if you could authorize the chair to sign the bill of sale and the title, because we do have those prepared as
Do you
well.
want the motion all together, Mr. Chair?
Sure, that's fine.
I'll make a motion, we accept the recommendations on the vehicle auction surplus results from the DPW Director for the 4 vehicles as presented to us this evening,
Second.
And authorize the chair to sign.
and authorize the chair to sign, correct?
Second motion.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Collis. Any discussion? We'll call it. Mark?
Yes, sir.
Myself is a yes. Chet?
Yes.
Collis?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Excellent, thank you. For the folks at home, we had two bids from New Hampshire, successful bids from New Hampshire, 1 from Massachusetts and 1 from New Jersey. So kind of a northeast slant for sure, but a couple close to home. Then the second item I had requested for tonight was a purchasing policy waiver due to some shortages in the market. So as part of the Wallace Road roundabout mini reno that we've got scheduled for the summer, we have a fair amount of cobblestone to install, about 850 square feet. And that mainly is in the center island, which is the planter bed island is going to shrink, and the cobbled area is going to increase in size around what it currently is. And then there's a few cobbled areas in the north, the west, and a tiny bit on the southeast side that are going to be expanded. So all in all, it's 850 square feet of cobble, which is quite a few cobblestones once you turn them on side like we do to make sure they don't pop out. Didn't think the granite state would have a hard time with granite cobble, but apparently these come from all places in the area receive these old world brand cobbles from India. So they must, I don't know if they have granite there, but they either send the granite there and manufacture it there, and then it comes back over here. But every landscaping company seems to have the same source in India, and they're apparently in rough shape due to the pandemic in India right now, coupled with some of the other market issues that are going on with higher supply than normal. So come to find out, we didn't have anywhere local that, normally our cobblestone supplier would, our installer would purchase the cobbles and provide them. Because of the market shifts in a few areas, we decided to try to get ahead of their arrival this summer and purchase on the side, and we started to find out really quickly that there's a shortage. So no one supplier could supply all the cobblestones we need. I think, let's see, just about 3,000 cobbles total, just over. And because of that, we called a few places and the price was quite a bit different. The lowest cost vendor was right here in town, Pro Landscaping, but they couldn't offer, I think they could only offer about a quarter of the cobbles that we would need. They were able, however, to offer to pass through their pricing through Swenson Granite, which is cheaper than what Swenson Granite quoted us as a town. So they offered to sell us what they had at their price and then pass through what they could get for the rest at their pricing with Swenson, with just a little bit of trucking added. $95 a load, I think, is what they quoted. So all in all, it's still a fair amount of money, but because of the purchasing policy limit of $10,000, it's normally something that we would be going out to bid for. We do, in this case, I think it was a time-sensitive issue, so we've placed the order. Hasn't been delivered yet, so we could always cancel it if the board feels that you want to go out to bid, but I think just based on the timing of it, and you know, I think we're in rough shape. If we try to go out to bid, there may not be a supply left. They're all estimating August for the next deliveries, and that of course puts us in a tough spot to get things done before school starts. If we split it up to get below 10,000 and go to multiple vendors, the next highest price was almost $1 per cobble more. So if we have to get 1,000, you know, it's $1,000 less in the town. So based on the fact that it's a local vendor here in town that gets us the best pricing, and the fact that I think expediency in this case was key to get the material in as fast as possible so we can get that work started as fast as possible, I'd like to recommend a waiver for the purchasing policy limit and award to Pro Landscaping for the pricing that you see on your handout.
So this is the additional cobbles we're gonna need?
Yes.
And we're still using the old stuff, and then,
Yes, I think the old stuff, the only thing that has to change is right now what is the very center ring around the raised bed, planter bed, are laid flat because there's not a lot of traffic right up against the curb line, and it's for aesthetic purposes, but those will be turned on side and set down on the ground, and then we'll be adding into that. As you may remember, the final shape of that center island is sort of a bean shape now. It's not going to be a circle, and it's not going to be right in the middle of what would be the circle. It's going to be shifted. So we've instructed the cobble installer, we'll try to get as best we can, act as if the center is still the center, and it's going to kind of be a good pattern that'll be there. But yes, they'll reuse what's in the ground already, and this will be
and
additional.
at this price, it's available tomorrow?
Yes, I think the delivery, it sounded like they're about a week out or so if we.
I hate to commit to something and say, well, it's still gonna be August, and then we haven't gained anything by doing that.
Right. If something changes and, you know, a lightning bolt struck all the cobblestone in half and we can't use them, I'd come back to the board at the next meeting and let you know, and we'd go out to bid, we'd have the time.
And like we said at the last meeting, we wanna make sure this is done before school, right?
Yes, very much so. I think we'll have a ripcord moment if it's too late in the season for some reason, but.
Okay.
So Peter, it
Any
sounds
questions?
like we're able to act quickly enough to make the best we could out of an unfavorable situation.
I
So
agree.
I'll make a recommendation
for the approval of a purchasing policy waiver for the purchase of cobblestone in the amount of $14,218 from Pro Landscape Supply of Goffstown, New Hampshire, without the formal sealed bid process.
Second that.
We have a motion by Carlos, seconded by Chet. Any further discussion? Mark?
Yes, sir.
Myself is a yes, Chet?
Yes.
Carlos?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
Thanks
For getting right on that, Adam. That was
Right
a
on
good
that.
job, thank you.
It is now 6:10 and time for public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment? Come right up.
Hello,
Hello.
Hi.
Your name and address?
Teresa Desposis, 6
Why don't you
Elmwood
wait till you get right to the mic so we can get it on recorded? And it's, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Teresa Desposis, 6 Elmwood Ave, Goffstown, New Hampshire.
Christopher Desfosis, 6 Elmwood Ave, Goffstown.
What can we do for you folks?
Okay, so we reside at 6 Elmwood Ave, and our R2 neighbor, our lot is an R2 and it abuts a C2 resident property, which is the Circle National Club. And we have a grievance with the event permit that was given to the Circle National Club. And we want to know what our step is to take, because the event permit isn't good for the 3 residential properties that abut Circle National Club. They are having live bands every single weekend, really loud live bands, and we can't enjoy our backyard. We can't even go outside on the weekend because of their live bands that they're having. So, you know what our step is, our
The next step, sure. Well, I happen to know, I've discussed this already, that
Yeah.
we have done some work on it. Derek, could you update us on it?
So the special event permit is reviewed by Nancy Larson as for the zoning component. This is zoned commercial. Typically, when they're an outdoor use, it does go through the planning board site plan review process. This particular use did not go through the site plan process because it's been existing for so long. When they put the horseshoe pits in, that received administrative approval. But that was almost 30 years ago when Ed Nevy was here and Andre was the planning director. So the planning board hasn't seen that, and we didn't find any restrictions. So Nancy signed off on it as part of the review for that. There is a clause in the development regulations and zoning regulations that if anything becomes a nuisance, that you could require them to go back through the site plan process, but I believe when you approved the special event permit, you were going based on Nancy's review and that it wasn't prohibited at this location.
Okay, so originally it was approved as the use of horseshoes, you said, right?
For the horseshoe pits, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's kind of a big difference from live band horseshoes.
Yes.
Yeah, when we moved in, they did horseshoes outside. They still do them, whatever. Little music, whatever. Last year, COVID came around, they had bands outside. This year, lots of bands,
Light shows,
stands,
smoke
lights.
brigade.
You know, it's just, it's really evolved over the...
Profanity and the
Prof-
music at like 7 o'clock when our daughter's outside
Yeah.
playing, you know, and extremely loud. You can hear out in front of our house out in the street.
I don't know.
Have we had the police department out there or
We
doing any?
I called once because they played after 10. I knew they were only going to do one more song, but I figured I'll call, and they haven't played after 10 since then.
Okay.
And this past week, a cop was driving around, but I don't know.
Well,
They
they
answer
have an
like
event
they probably-
permit, so it's kind of hard
Yeah.
to enforce something that they've been approved to do. So,
Exactly, yeah.
or
I mean,
de-enforce, I
decibel
guess would
level,
be.
I mean, the decibel level is extremely.
At the same time, we have a noise ordinance that talks about decibel levels at
It's,
the
it's
property.
Decibel
line.
extremely loud.
Is
We
it
have
50?
recording of it. It's,
How many people show up for these? I'm just trying to get a feel
they
for it.
park in our street and
The
it's.
parking's an
But how-
issue, too.
but how many? I mean, how many people in
Probably
cars?
like 50, maybe, I would say. But they have a dance floor, so they're out there dancing till 10 o'clock at night, and then the
They also
club...
put up a lot of lights outside. They had lights up, put up, string up all these lights out in the back. They got all these tents and umbrellas out back there. I mean,
And is it 50 feet from our property line to where they're performing too? I don't know, it looks close. Our thing is, and our neighbors, I have a paper signed off by the neighbors that, like, when we all moved in, it was more indoor activity. It wasn't like parties every weekend
Okay.
outside. Maybe a pig roast once in a while, whatever. We're not complaining about that stuff. This is every single weekend. Friday night on the deck, Saturday on the deck, Sunday acoustic on the deck.
So it's like your backyard, we can't have like friends, family over to sit out on our back deck and enjoy ourselves
Sure.
when we have this stuff going on. And our taxes, we pay our taxes, to me, it just doesn't seem right.
All right, well, I think it sounds like that, maybe Derek, we need to take a look at it, call us, I think you agree?
Yeah, I think we need to send a call.
As the planning board rep, you may want to, maybe want to bring that up.
I mean, even the band kind of like pokes fun about keeping the neighbors up at night. And yeah, of course, we
Okay,
can
well,
hear it.
There's only so much we can do because they do have
I understand
an
that.
event permit, but it looks like there's some things that we may be able to do. No promises, call us, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think we need to enforce to the ordinance, though. I think we kind of could foresee this coming a ways back with the pandemic, that we're kind of easing things to help
Yeah.
businesses stay in business,
Yeah.
but, things are relaxed. But I think in circumstances like this, we've got to pull back to the ordinance and enforce the ordinance to the
Do
letter.
you know what the decibel level is as far as?
It's in the ordinance, and I don't know.
So we could look that up.
Yeah, it's on the
commission.
ordinance, yeah,
Okay.
it is.
How long does an event permit last? Like one season and then they have to apply again next year?
It should say.
Yeah, that has date certain on it.
Yeah, it
I'm
does.
on
Yeah,
that.
you provided it for the entire season, for the
Right.
entire summer, I think through October.
Okay, because I saw on Facebook through October, so I'm like, really? Through October?
It's like every weekend.
Well, Derek, what's the next step you want to do?
I think what I'd have you do is I can bring it back to you on the 12th after we have some time, and what I might ask you to do is revoke the special event once we get a little bit more information at that meeting on the 12th, but also give the club a chance to present any information at that meeting on the 12th of a potential revocation of the special event permit because of the impact on the neighborhood. And then they could go through the site plan process potentially to get that as a permanent allowable use rather than doing it through special event permit.
Okay, so this is something that's going to be taken care of this weekend.
Yeah, that's what we
This
figured.
looks like it's going to take a little bit of time to go through the process and see what we can do. Maybe we can work with them, we'll find out, but that's,
But I think we can put it on the agenda for the 12th,
Sure.
July 12th.
so July 12th, that'll be on the agenda again,
Okay.
all right?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't want to take any action to revoke anything until we got more background
Right.
information, more details.
Come by this Saturday.
Yeah, you can come in our yard if you're not a member. So do we need to do anything else, or?
Nope, you're just, I think
No, I'll
you
be in
just,
contact with you about what time it'll be on the agenda, okay?
We're away that week, actually, July
Okay.
12th, so
Okay.
I
That's
can
fine.
watch the video
Yep.
or whatever after, so.
see what we can do.
All right, do we need to stay for the whole meeting, or?
No.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Okay, next up is Police Chief, Highway Safety.
I'll just remind you, Mr. Chairman, we have 4 public hearings, so I might have to interrupt.
First one's at 6:30, is that
6:30.
correct?
That is correct, yes.
No problem, right, Chief?
Yeah, no problem. We're on it. Good evening. So real quick, just to comment on her comment. We've actually been there a couple times the last 2 weekends to address the noise after 10 p.m. As soon as we went there to address that, they shut it down. We were called the same night into 2 o'clock in the morning because the staff was leaving, so they were hanging out in the parking lot, talking at 2 in the morning. The town ordinance doesn't have a decibel, but it talks about a person of reasonable senses. So if people in the neighborhood are being disturbed, one of my big things here is quality of life for our residents. So I think that definitely the police department will keep an extra eye on that. We're aware of the situation, so we're addressing it as it goes along.
Is there a parking issue there?
Depends. I mean, sometimes it goes out onto Rockland, but they're off the road for the most part. And usually when they're in the road, we try to stop in there and address that situation.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. So, really quickly, highway safety.
Okay, we're in section 5, folks.
Just some of the house cleaning, Mr. Chair. You had asked us a couple of meetings ago to take a holistic approach once a year for the 25-mile-an-hour speed limits. So we have 2 that were outstanding that I'm going to bring forward to the board. One is the Juniper Drive. We had a presentation previously, and Meadowlark, including Benjamin and Kimberly. The Highway Safety Committee
took these two outstanding requests, and all of us agreed that we recommended having all of these roads, Juniper Drive, Meadowlark, Benjamin, and Kimberly, being a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. Currently, there's no posted speed limit signs. There's some of the issues are they're highly dense areas, close houses are closely built next to each other, and there's a lot of children's neighborhoods. So based on that, we felt that lowering these speed limits would help with some of the issues of speed. So those are our recommendations for those outstanding requests. Do you want to
Derek,
take?
you want to take these as we go along?
Yes, please.
Okay. So we just heard the presentation from the chief on Meadowlark Lane, including Benjamin Drive, Kimberly Lane, and Juniper Drive. The committee recommends a reduction to a speed of 25 miles per hour. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion to reduce the speed to 25 miles per hour on Juniper Drive, Meadowlark Lane, to include Benjamin Drive, and Kimberly Lane.
Second.
Is there any discussion? We have a motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. I'll call for the vote. Mark?
Yes, sir.
Myself, yes. Chet?
Yes.
Hollis?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
And I'll just remind the board that requires a change of ordinance, so we will schedule 2 public hearings, and so you'll see that on future agendas.
So the motion should be to go to public hearing then?
That's fine.
Right, okay.
Second, second in your packet is another housekeeping item that we have discovered. We discovered that previously the speed limit in Riverview Park was posted or changed to 20 miles an hour, but currently the law states we cannot do that. So the only 20-mile-an-hour speed limits in the state right now is school zones. So I'm proposing, or the Highway Safety Committee proposed, to change that ordinance from a 20 to 25 miles an hour in Riverview Park. You'll see in your packet there is a minor typo that talks about recommendation to 20 miles an hour, but it should be 25.
Okay. That shouldn't require a public hearing to change that though, should it?
I believe we've done this for East Union Street, and it did go to 2 public hearings.
Really? Okay, because, I mean, we can't authorize something that's illegal. I mean, if
Technically,
it's
we
illegal,
can't.
it's illegal.
Technically, this ordinance is illegal, but we'd have to, I think we've done this before with other 2 public hearings.
Is that necessary?
Yes, I would recommend that it does go to public hearing and ordinance change, because otherwise, if it is illegal, I would say that it might revert back to the 35 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Peter, I'll make a recommendation to initiate the public hearing process for that ordinance change.
And to 25 miles an hour?
Yes.
Yeah.
Second.
Motion by Collis, seconded by Chet. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mark?
Yes, sir.
Myself is a yes. Chet?
Yes.
Collis?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
Next.
Okay, the next request comes from the intersection of Cross Street and Higgins Street. Currently, it is a 3-way stop sign, and the issue here is now Bartlett Elementary School is using the back emergency exit as their main thoroughfare to get buses and traffic out of the school. So now we're seeing that on that side of the intersection, there is no stop sign. So parents, buses are coming out, turning, and everybody else is stopping. So there's a complaint there, and there's some issues with that intersection where there's potentially safety with children in the area and cars not stopping at all to make it a 4-way. So the Highway Safety Committee has recommended putting a stop sign to make it a 4-way on the Bartlett side. And I'm sure that previously it was never, there was never an issue because they never had traffic coming out of that back gate.
So being where there's buses coming out of there, I would ask Adam if it's necessary, the DPW director, necessary, put a stop bar back away from the intersection to allow that turn. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't be necessary, we could certainly do that if you want. The stop bars are not a requirement, they're a kind of advisory from the MUTCD. As long as you have a stop sign, you're covered, but we could certainly pull it back. I'm not sure, in the end, I think the buses probably will treat it the same as everywhere else. They'll come to a safe stop and then proceed forward into the intersection if they can, and if they can't, they'll hold back like they would. So if the board feels strongly about it, setting it back, we could. I think otherwise we'd do our normal. METCD has a recommendation, a certain number of feet from the actual sign post. You shouldn't go too far beyond or in front of.
I just want to make sure there's enough of a swing there for the buses to pull out of there, that's all.
I think the safe ground is to follow the MUTCD guidelines explicitly. That doesn't open us up to, you changed what's been recommended, now we've got a problem, and it falls on us. And, if we go strictly by the manual, then we protect ourselves from that.
We can go to the, I agree with Chairman Georgianis with the width of that being what it is. We'll go to the max allowed, like,
Yep.
just off the top of my head,
Sure.
I don't remember what it is, but if it lets us do it 20 feet back, we'll set it 20 feet back, and then I'll keep that clear at the
Okay.
end if that's the way we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a motion?
I'll make the motion, we allow the installation of a stop sign on Higgins Street on the section between Bartlett School and Cross Street on the recommendations of the whatever you just said, Collis,
MUTCD.
MECD recommendations.
You have a second?
Second.
And that will require an ordinance as well for a
Right.
stop sign.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Myself as a yes, Chet?
Yes.
Collis?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And that's to go to public hearing. Do you have time for one more?
Yes.
I do, absolutely, yeah.
Go for it.
All right. Next up is in the area of Wallace Road between Mountain Base and Apple Tree. For those of you who don't know, there's a new business going in. The new morning school is now going to be Gage School. It's going to be a preschool, a kindergarten. A lot of exciting happenings going on there. They came to us to kind of pick our brains about what they can do. Their concern is traffic entering and leaving that area. They're going to have some buses coming in, bringing some children there. And if you don't know, we kind of went out there and looked at it. The road coming down Wallace from Mountain Base is a really it's a blind corner, and there's kind of a hill crest there. And as you get over the top of that hill crest, their parking lot is right there. So we've decided, the highway safety, to at least put a couple of signs on one side of Wallace up by Mountain Base, and then the other side down closer towards Apple Tree, indicating a school traffic ahead, just to alert motorists in the area that as they come down that hill or they're coming up to that hill crest, there are going to be some cars turning. We took into consideration potential school zone, but it didn't really qualify at this point. But certainly we felt that due to the speeds that we've seen on that road as a police department and some of the potential accidents that could happen there, we recommend this. My predecessor advised me when New Morning was there during their kindergarten graduations, it potentially was a mess over there. So I've advised them that was something that we need to work on when they get to that point, and they are all for working with us to figure that out. So.
Does a warning sign like that require a public hearing also?
No, that's just a cautionary.
Okay. Mark? Any question? You all set?
No, I'm all set.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion then. Let's see, I'll make a motion to approve the installation of fluorescent green school signs with traffic entering and exiting ahead on either side of the school saying, "School traffic ahead."
Yep, second.
Second, second. Go ahead, Adam, you have something? You got like a minute, I gotta do a public
I
hearing
didn't know
here.
if I make the chief the bad guy or not. Would you, the board, like the town to provide those signs, or would you like the applicant to provide signs and we can install them, or have them provide and install?
Applicant.
The applicant.
I'm sure they do one.
Well, I think you should install them.
Okay.
They can supply the signs and you can install them, you can buy the signs for them and bill them, or whatever we gotta do. How's that?
I'll reach out to them. I'm sure
Yeah.
they'll.
Okay, we need, I want to get going on this. Mark, yes?
Yes, sir.
Myself is a yes. Chet?
Yes.
Collis?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
It is 6:30 and we have a public hearing scheduled. In compliance with RSA 41:14-B, the Goffstown Select Board is conducting this public hearing to accept public input pertaining to the proposed ordinance entitled Water Quality Ordinance. Copies of the proposed ordinance are available online at www.goffstown.com or at the town clerk's office. A second public hearing will be scheduled for Monday, July 12th at 6:30 p.m. A vote on this matter is scheduled for Monday, July 26th. I will officially open the public hearing. Is there anybody here to comment on the water quality ordinance that's before us? Don't all speak up at once. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And again, I will bring this up again at the July 12th meeting. That was easy.
police chief had two other recommendations for highway
Yep.
safety.
Thank you again. Next one in your packet you'll see is the area of 189 Blackbrook Road. Originally, the applicant came in and was concerned of walking with her handicapped child in the area. There's no sidewalks on Blackbrook Road. It's a pretty tight road, curvy. After the officer interviewed her and talked to her, we realized that it necessarily wasn't a handicap zone that she was looking for. It was more of slowing speeders down. So we went through the whole site survey, looked at the road, and was determined that there is no speed limit signs on Blackbrook Road when you come off of Terrell Hill Road and turn left towards Dumbarton, or turn right on heading towards Dumbarton. There's no signs there from that intersection up past Cinnamon towards Hoyt. So we felt, the Highway Safety Committee felt that part of helping her out would be, and also slowing motorists down, is putting a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit sign at that, just after that intersection, and as you come in from Dumbarton after Hoyt, there's another intersection towards Cinnamon where there's no sign there. That would help alert motorists that are not going from Manchester to Dumbarton, or Dumbarton to Manchester, the whole length of Blackbrook, would help them understand that this is a 30. So the Highway Safety Committee recommended putting two signs on each side of the 189 Blackbrook with a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit sign to help let everybody know that it is a 30 in that area.
What is it, the Dumbarton side? I mean, are we gonna take the Dumbarton side?
As we go into Dumbarton,
Or if you're coming from Dunbarton onto Blackbrook?
I'm not
Which is-
sure what their speed limit is.
I mean, if it's a 35 there, or do you want to maintain the thing, or just drop it to a 30 when it hits Goffstown?
Well, our entire Blackbrook is 30. The
Okay.
problem is the signage. So
All
when
right.
when you're coming in from Dumbarton, you'll see a sign, but if you're turning off of certain roads and you're not familiar with that road, you don't live there, you're just going. You don't see a sign. So especially if you're coming down Terrell Hill and you're making a left, and say it's your first time in our town, they don't see a 30-mile-an-hour sign there. So as they're going through that intersection by the dam there, there's some crazy speeds in there.
So how many signs?
Two.
Two.
One on the Terrell Hill side and one on the other side of her house towards the Cinnamon Drive side.
Any questions? Motion?
Make a recommendation that we install the installation of an additional 2 speed signs on the Blackbrook Road area.
Go to a public hearing?
Yeah, public hearing.
That would not require public hearing.
No, it doesn't.
For the signs?
No, I'm shaking my head agreeing with you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Because the speed limit already exists, we're
Okay,
just putting
so it's just
additional
a
ones.
sign this then, all right. So to authorize the DPW to put signs up for 35 miles an hour.
In the area of the Blackbrook Road 189 area.
Okay, second.
Second, motion by Mark,
Yes, sir.
seconded by Chet. Mark's yes. Myself is a yes, Chet?
Yes.
Collis?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
Next, chief?
Okay, the last one is Goffstown Back Road by the intersection of Terrell Hill, or I should say, and Center Street, that all kind of, that intersection. We've had, last year, if the board remembers, we had addressed this intersection with a different member of that area who was having issues with leaving his driveway, line of sight issues with trees, accidents. So we as a Highway Safety Committee went to that scene and we took out some trees by his house by the cemetery that kind of tried to open up some of the line of sight as you're turning right up towards Manchester going up Terrell Hill. Well, incidentally, unfortunately, that same gentleman was hit by a car in that same intersection one night just recently. So now the neighborhood has converged and has came to us as Highway Safety, and they're concerned with the intersection itself. There are numerous new families there that have young children. They're all trying to become a neighborhood on a very busy street. Lieutenant Hammond went out and did a pretty thorough investigation and looked at the entire road. What we've determined as a highway safety is a couple different things. We've noticed that the lineage in the road is not quite as accurate as it probably should be. The yellow line is spaced very spaced out pretty significantly, so as people, if you're not familiar with the road, as you're coming up into that winding part of the road, heading towards Manchester, especially at night, it kind of looks like the road just veers left, and they're not seeing the curve. Plus, the line doesn't follow the road. So that's one part. We also determined that we'd like to put a sign up towards the cemetery, heading towards Manchester, that has a curve with a small, road to the left side. That would help motorists understand that this road does curve. It doesn't just go straight up the hill. We've also looked at coming down the hill. It looks like the white fog line, kind of as you come down Terrell Hill, instead of kind of following the contours, you just kind of go straight off to the side. So as you're driving up Goffstown Blackbrook Road, heading towards Manchester, the white line kind of looks like it goes straight. So all the lineage is kind of not contouring with the road itself. So DPW has looked at it. They're going to address the lines according to the MUTCD standards, and the Highway Safety Committee also recommended a sign down below the intersection. We also looked at lighting. There is a street light that probably could be more at the intersection with that on the telephone pole, but it's down towards the tree farm area of the Grange. So we're gonna reach out to Eversource to see if there's a way that they can just relook at that light and maybe move it. But for right now, we're looking at just changing the lineage and putting a sign in there for highway safety.
And DPW was okay with that?
Yes.
Good.
Adam did vote in that, and he did recommend it.
I'll make a motion to bring these recommended improvements to better define the intersection to public hearing.
Yep, second.
Do we need a public hearing on that, Derek?
No, these are all road improvements.
I make a motion to bring these recommended improvements to better define the intersection to ourselves and say yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Myself, say yes. Chet?
Yes.
Collis?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
And who was the second on that motion?
Mark.
Mark, thank you.
All right. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
You're done?
Yes, we are, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Adam. Derek, you want to go over some of your stuff while we got
Sure.
a few minutes?
Absolutely. At tab 11, you find the town administrator's report. You've got your meeting scheduled for the next 2 weeks. There are no other meetings this week. A reminder, next Monday, Town Hall is closed in observance of the 4th of July holiday. On Wednesday, again, this is 6:30, at 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
EDC is meeting here in room 106. And Thursday will be 7 p.m. for planning board.
Yes.
If you can't make it, let me know, Colin.
Absolutely.
Real quick, Derek, on Wednesday, there's a chance I may not be here. I'll send out an email by the end of the week about that.
Okay. Your next page, you have your consent agenda. You have employee status reports. You have a firefighter resignation, call firefighter 1 step increase, call firefighter 2/EMT step increase, a call firefighter 1 resignation, and a call firefighter 2/EMT 2-step increase. You have the July 1st pay changes for both union and non-union. That needs a signature of the chair. And then you have rights to inter for West Lawn Expansion Cemetery, section S4, lots 235, 236, 237, and 238.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Collis, seconded by Jim. Any discussion?
Yep,
Go ahead. Oh, you called, is there any discussion? You said, yeah.
nope, yep, ready to go.
You're throwing a curve at me there, Mark. Mark was a yes, I'm a yes. Chet?
Yes.
Collis?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
The next page, you have assessor recommendations. You have an abatement application. He recommends a reduction for map 37, lot 6.
Move to approve the assessor's recommendation as presented for map 37, lot 26.
Lot 6.
Lot 6.
Lot 6, I'm sorry.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Chet.
Yes, sir.
Myself is a yes. Chet?
Yes.
Collis?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
And then also on that page, you have an application for blind exemption. This is an application that was signed after the April 15th deadline. The assessor received a letter from the property owner indicating the application was submitted late due to accident, mistake, or misfortune under RSA 72:33. The assessor advises the application meets the criteria for late acceptance. If accepted late, the assessor recommends granting the exemption. So there are two votes for this one.
One vote to approve the misfortune, and then the second vote to actually approve them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. I'll make a motion to accept the application for blind exemption on map 5, lot 29-8-B, late due to accident, mistake, or misfortune in accordance with RSA 72:33.
Second that.
Motion by Chet, seconded by Jim. Mark?
Yes, sir.
Myself, yes. Chet?
Yes.
Collis?
Yes.
And Jim.
Yes.
To the next one.
Motion,
Go ahead, you got it, Mark.
motion to approve the blind exemption on map 5, lot 29-8-B as recommended by the assessor.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Mark?
Yes, sir.
Myself is yes. Chet?
Yes.
Collis?
Yes.
And Jim.
Yes.
And then the last item I have for you is, I emailed this out earlier today, and there are printed copies on the table. This is a request for a change order to the CCTV project. We have 7 cameras being installed at DPW, but both the garage and the scale house are running off of Wi-Fi or limited Ethernet cables. I had IT system administrator reached out to the current vendor to see what it would cost to have fiber run to those 2 locations. And as part of that project, we'd like to run fiber to those 2 buildings. They'll also open up VoIP, voice over internet protocol, telephones, as well as in the future perhaps give us more options for software and acceptance of credit cards at the scale house. Again, those will be future options that we'll need, but it was very difficult with the Wi-Fi to even consider that before. So we'd be seeking to allow this change order under the current contract.
And it's still within budget.
It's still within budget, yes. We'll still have $29,000. We are going to have some electricians that we're going to have to pay to run power for some of these cameras, but it does still within the CIP budget.
Any questions? Take a motion.
Make a motion to approve the recommended change order to install fiber to the DPW scale house and the DPW garage as proposed for an additional cost of $8,690.25.
Second.
Motion by Chet, seconded by Collis. Mark?
Yes, sir.
Myself is a yes. Chet?
Yes.
Collis?
Yes.
And Jim.
Yes.
That's all I had, and it's almost time for public hearing
For
on
the second
tab
public
8.
hearing? Yep.
Yes.
Tab 8. Okay, in compliance with RSA 41:9-A, the Goffstown Select Board is conducting a public hearing to accept public input on the proposed update to the townwide feed schedule in the administration, police, fire, public works, and parks and recreation department. Copies of the proposed update are available online at www.goffstown.com under public notices or in the town clerk's office. A vote is scheduled on these fees on the evening after the conclusion of the public hearings. So I will open the public hearing. Is there anybody here that would like to discuss or is here to discuss the fee schedule? Our DPW director wants to come up and say, obviously it wasn't enough, he wants more.
Just keep coming back, and be careful, right? I just don't want to jump in front of anybody else. I know they were clamoring to get up here to talk about these. I just had a request that something dawned on me at the last meeting to look this up, and it looks like DPW is a little bit out of line with specifically admin when it comes to re-inspection fees. So we're actually charging more for our re-inspection of driveway permits or excavation permits than we're charging for the initial permit. And I don't want in any way that to be construed as a punitive type measure. Sometimes those re-inspections can take longer and you've uncovered more things and it's more visits to get things right if you're not able to just quickly sign off on this first step. So I see in the past how that might have been raised to the point where it's higher, but I think
for the most part, most inspections are gonna be quicker, if not exactly at the same time, to do a second inspection as first. So with the board's permission, I'd like to reduce the DPW re-inspection fee from 200 to 100. Everything else in my list.
And that's in line with the first inspection?
Yes, exactly.
And that's where, and
Sorry, I don't have my.
Unfortunately, I did not number these, but it's under, Public Works Department. That's about the 4th or 5th page in.
Could be right up there at
It's
the top
right
of
near
my
the
list.
top under highway. They have driveway permit, new construction, modification, and then right under that, re-inspection fee for driveways and excavations.
Just before tab 9,
yeah,
about 3
yeah,
pages.
re-inspection fee, it says 200, you want to change that to 100. Let's take that as a separate motion, right, just so we can get it in.
And I don't know when the last time we charged a re-inspection fee or how often it's happening, but it's not very often, so there's not a big revenue change by making this adjustment. It's just, I think, more in line with what the RSA is looking for.
Okay.
Thank you.
See what that one first, right?
Yeah, I want to just
Okay.
take that one particular item.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we, oh, sorry, go ahead.
We're going to take that one item as a motion to reduce that's on here, because it's it's already posted, so we'll have to
Okay.
go and change everything.
Good.
Chet made the motion, it was seconded by
Sec- yeah.
Collis. Chet, motion by Chet, seconded by Collis. Mark?
Yes, sir.
Myself is a yes. Chet?
Yes.
Collis?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anybody else here, public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment.
And I'll just ask for a vote to adopt and ask
As
the,
amended.
as amended with an effective date of July 1st, 2021, please.
So moved.
Motion by Collis, seconded by Mark.
Yep,
Any discussion? Seeing none. Mark?
all set.
Myself, yes.
Yep.
Chet? Collis?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
Okey-doke. And that takes care of that. We have the fire chief. We have another public hearing at 7 though, right?
We do have another at 7 and 7:15, so, and with the town administrator's report done at this point, really you just have the fire chief and then select board discussion. So I think we'll have him go for as long as we can, and then we'll squeeze in the other public hearing, and then if he needs to continue after.
Let's stop them at 7. and-
Yep.
Okay. So you may get stopped at 7 and then we'll bring you back.
Understood, thank you very much.
And I do have the chief does have a PowerPoint presentation, so I don't know if Selectman
Yep, I
Lemay,
can
if you
get
could grab those lights.
First, I want to thank the board for their time this evening. I'm here to talk about our current staffing model and kind of give the board a staffing update. This is an extremely serious topic. If you haven't noticed, the people behind me are here. This is affecting them on a day-to-day basis and impacting their professional lives and personal lives, and it expands out into the community as well. Just want to go through, if the board could, I'd like to go through the presentation. I will answer any and all questions at the end. I'm more than happy to. So the staffing model for the board members who haven't been here for a very long time, years ago we originally started off as a volunteer department, transitioned to a call department. When I started here back in 2006, the full-time firefighters only worked Monday through Friday, and nights and weekends were covered by our call firefighters. At one point in time, the full-time group worked days only, exactly what we're showing on the screen here right now. 7 days a week, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then we hired 2 part-time EMS and call firefighters to support the community at nighttime. Hang on 1 second.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. So throughout the years, as the needs of the community changed, the fire department's staffing model has changed accordingly, and that's kind of where I'm going this evening. Next slide. So back in 2019, we transitioned our full-time people from working days into a 24-hour shift model. Same thing with our part-time people. We went from nights that they're able to work 24-hour shifts as well, so they can work days and nights. Some of our part-time members today are either fire only, some are EMS only. So that kind of changes our capability throughout the day of how we can best service this community. Sometimes that's only out of one fire station, just based on who's working that day. It really gets deep into the operations of the fire department. So some of our part-time people, just to remind everybody, that they are limited in the amount of numbers of hours they can work annually through the Affordable Care Act. So with our part-time numbers going down, that's less shifts they can cover, which really puts a burden on the full-time folks where they have to either stay because nobody's coming in, so they're mandated to stay a certain amount of time. They have blackout holidays where they have to work, or they're being forced to change a day they want to take a vacation day, so they're not leaving their brothers and sisters at the fire department very short-staffed. And this model worked excellent, that I'm showing right here on the board, for the first 12 months. We started getting into COVID, and then we have a shift in the job market. So our part-time people want full-time employment with a 24-hour schedule. So those number of people that are available out there right now is smaller. So something needs to change. The job market has absolutely changed. In addition to that, the part-time people, they've also been able to seek full-time employment at like urgent cares that are popping out, ERs. They have other opportunities that they're able to work. So we've been actively recruiting them. I've spent time up at the state entrance exam trying to recruit people in. We're meeting with different schools and colleges to try to get people interested in Goffstown Fire Department and kind of recruit them into the town. So we're actively doing that. We are actively interviewing quite frequently. So that's the current model. And this has direct impact where we're having a hard time getting part-time people. It has a direct impact on how quickly we are able to respond to each emergency call. And the town administrator can go to the next slide. So this is over the last 4 years. You can see 2018, 2019, prior to making the transition to 24s, we had a nice drop in our response times when we were able to have the complement of 4 full-time firefighters and always having those 2 part-time people. As you can see in 2021, as that job market is changing, our response times are going in the wrong direction. And when this happens, it makes an impact of each person we're touching and going out there. If they're having a cardiac event, we need to get there sooner and we're getting there a little later. If it's a fire, the fire can double in size very, very rapidly. So we want those numbers to be trending as they were in 20. So again, we have to look at how can we go back and improve this. And there's a trend developing here. I'm going to show you the month of May. So we have April and May data already. And again, everything you're seeing this evening is all data driven. It's not the fire chief's opinion or anyone else's opinion. It's the data from our computer system that's driving us to where we need to go. Could we go to the next slide? And again, this is May. As you can see, that number was coming down nicely. It's headed back up in the wrong direction at this time. We can go, thank you. So day to day, we track exactly how many people are working. And I've said before, our optimum is 6 people. 3 people at Station 18 and 3 at Station 19 to cover the community. As you can see, there's 2 bar graphs for each date. So on June 1st, you can see for 24 hours we were fully staffed. When you go to June 4th, we were down to 3 people covering the entire community. It's simply, we just can't do it. And what that leads to is having to close the fire station because you can't run 2 fire stations with 3 people working. And as I mentioned earlier, depending on who's working, for our part-time people, if they're fire only, they can't go on the ambulance. And if they're EMS only, they can't drive a fire truck to a fire scene. So it puts us on a daily basis in a really difficult position. And as you can see the note, as that model changes, our capabilities change day to day. And it should be status quo as it was like on June 1st and June 2nd. We should have 6 people responding appropriately to the entire community. Just want to make sure I covered everything here. And again, as, do I have time?
Yep, you have 5 minutes.
As those days drop, this has, again, a direct effect on our employees' health and well-being. And I know the board has an initiative right now about health and well-being. I personally live it as the fire chief every day, and I know how it affects me. I can't imagine some of the folks behind me on how they feel when they come in. There's only 3 people to cover 18,000 people in this community. And it does lead to mutual aid having to come in frequently. And I'll touch on that in a few minutes. If we go to the next slide. So as I just said, we are forced to close the station when that happens, when we drop. And this is a snapshot of the month of June. Again, there's 2 bar graphs on June 6th. You can see we were there for 24 hours. And June 8th, we were there for 24 hours. But the 9th and the 10th, there was nobody there. We just didn't have anyone. And just a quick snapshot, 75% of the day shifts, there's nobody there. We just don't have the staffing there. And we're fortunate that our part-time people work other jobs during the day and they actually come in at nighttime. So that number does get better at nighttime. So we are able to shift staffing and open them back up at nighttime when we can. But again, this is an extreme safety issue. Can't express that more than I already have. So what's been happening? How have we been able to run? So this is a snapshot for the board of our overtime over the past 3 years. So you see 3 bars for each month. And you can see the blue bar on the right of each one of those is our current overtime. It is going up and up and up every single month. I came out of the business world, and at some point in time that tells a business that you need more resources to get your overtime under control. It's going in the wrong direction. And when we go to the next slide, this is my part-time wage line items. You see that blue bar is actually going down. It's going in the wrong direction. Those wages are not being spent because they're not signing up to work the shifts. Don't have the people coming in. Even though we're doing as much recruiting as we can on a daily basis. We've run several interview processes. And again, this is a sign that something needs to change. Just have a few minutes.
You can give about 1 or 2 before a public hearing. So one more slide? Or do you want
I'll stop there if that's all right with the board. And
You still got 3 minutes, right?
Yeah, I think the next public hearing, there's quite a bit of background because it is a land acquisition. So if you want, I can go over the background of it real quick.
Sure.
And then,
Hit the lights, Mark. To be continued. Fire department to be continued.
so we're at tab 10 in your packet. And if I can just refresh the board's memory on this one, David Neiman from the Conservation Commission was before the board back in May. This is a 17-acre conservation easement to be held by Piscataquag Land Conservancy, with the town of Goffstown holding an executory enforcement provision under that, in case there are any issues with the easement. This adds to 250 acres of contiguous conservation land south of Snook Road. The Conservation Commission has already voted unanimously to approve the release of an amount up to, but not to exceed, $115,000 from the Land Use Change Tax Conservation Fund. They did that on May 26th. On May 27th, the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend the acquisition of the conservation easement to be held by Piscataquag Land Conservancy, with the town holding an executory interest on this property. The cost of the easement at this point is estimated at $112,443. That can change a little bit up or down when we when the Quag Land Conservancy gets into final deed preparation as well. Burns easement is $169,000. We closed on that Burns easement today, this morning here at Town Hall. So the town did acquire that executory interest today on that item. But at this point I have, it is 7 o'clock now, so if you wanted to open the public hearing.
In compliance with RSA 41:14-A, the Goffstown Select Board is conducting this public hearing to accept public input pertaining to accepting an executory, I can't say that, interest in a 17-acre commercial easement being conveyed to the Scagquag Land Conservancy on map 7, lot 88 and 88B, located on Snook Road. A second public hearing is scheduled for Monday, July 12th at 7 p.m. A vote on this matter is scheduled for Monday, July 26th. This time we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to put some input? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing.
Peter, can I make a comment on
Oh,
what
go
an
ahead.
executory interest means? Just for
Go ahead.
folks who are maybe watching, don't understand what that is. So the Piscataquag Land Conservancy is going to hold the easement, but in the event that they become defunct for whatever reason, somebody has to take over the easement and be a backstop, if you will. And that's the executory interest, and that is what the town of
Town of
Goffstown
Goffstown.
serve as, so that, it's still protected.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else? Okay, Chief, want to come back up? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Mark, you want to get the lights?
So where we left off, I was showing the,
Peter, can I just ask something of Chief?
Yes, sir.
Back in one of your first slides, the data is what the data is, and I'm a big data guy too. Data helps us make decisions.
yes, sir.
In one of your first slides, you said that COVID-19 was to blame for the job market.
No,
Or something to that effect. That's like your third slide in.
Yeah, so
So it-
COVID-19 happened,
Yeah,
and we were still doing okay. And since then, sorry, maybe I worded it wrong, since then, the job market has absolutely changed.
okay. I was
During-
just going to try and make the linkage there.
Yeah, sorry, if I,
In 20,000 words or less.
yeah, if I confuse you, I apologize like
Can
that.
we go back a slide or two to the, where we had the overtime line?
Yes, sir.
Okay, over here we're at the overtime lines. In March, were we full staff?
When you say full staff, were we running?
Did we have a full complement of firefighters?
No, because we're having to, you see each month gradually. In January, our part-time people, this is driven from a part-time not being available frequently. So as you can see, when we get to February, March, April is really where we're seeing a huge increase of.
So it's not due to
signing up.
services required, it's just due to coverage because we don't have any help.
Yes and yes, and I'm going to answer that question on the next slide.
All right.
That I was just getting to.
Go ahead.
So we talk about services, call volumes. So I went back to 2017, and as you can see, pretty flat. And then for 2021, I just took our average call volume and just went out by the year, by 12 months, and that's an estimate of where we potentially could be if the call volume continues at the same rate that it is. And again, this does not take into account any new developments coming in. We have two pretty big developments coming into town, housing developments that will absolutely have an impact eventually on our services. So that kind of answers your question. So
Well, kind of what
Calls for
kind of
service.
calls are those?
From a service call to a fire call to an EMS call.
So it could be, part of those calls could be like, call out to approve gas services or things like that?
Nope, so we don't pull tickets for those.
So what
So
are
you're
you?
talking like an inspection?
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
it does not count that?
Nope.
Or fire pit inspections
Nope.
or any of that kind of stuff, okay.
A question I get asked a lot is, all right, well, when do all these calls happen? And sorry for this chart's a little bit confusing to look at. On the left-hand side, it's the days of the week, and all the way across the bottom is every hour of the day. So you can see, no matter what time of the day it is, there are calls that happen. So I get asked the question a lot, when are your peak times? They're all the time. We never know when an emergency is going to come in, or in our case, a lot of times, multiple calls come in at the same time. So we could go to the next slide. So we have overlapping and simultaneous calls. So what this means is when one emergency call comes in, there's a high percentage of the time that a second one comes in. And those calls overlap and tax our resources. So most days, we're going to see in the 3 to 4 times throughout the day, there are overlapping calls where all of our services are out on emergencies. If you look at June 7th and 8th, 13 and 14 times during the day, during a 24-hour period, there were numerous calls going in throughout the day. And that, again, taxes our resources. We're having to call mutual aid in, and that certainly has led to lost revenue. Just on Sunday, I responded to several calls that I had to go on, and mutual aid was coming into our town to transport our residents to the hospital. And just to remind the board, when we transport those patients to the hospital, we're able to recoup revenue for our services, and that goes into the EMS fund. So when a mutual aid ambulance comes in, that goes to their town, not to our town. So this certainly has a trickle-down effect when that happens, and especially when you only have those days when 3 people are working. Odds are we are absolutely calling in a mutual aid ambulance into our community. Next slide. So, sorry, there's a little bit of small typing on there. I'll read through this. So personnel changes and challenging. And again, this is absolutely impacting the health and well-being of our employees. Selectman Bowen is kind of championing the survey that's coming out here shortly. He was at our facility last week. He came in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We had 3 people working. They just sat down to lunch, and during their lunch, they're actually fielding phone calls to answer questions from our insurance company about fire hydrant placement near a home. So they are working through their lunches just to try to meet the demands of the community. So just to talk about some of the changes that have happened or will be happening shortly or might happen. So in June, we lost a full-time employee, accepted a job at Concord, New Hampshire Fire Department. And in some of the information from that person's exit interview, this was certainly a desired department he wanted to be on, and then compensation was also a part of that. In July, we have 1 employee going to Nashua. Again, this was a targeted department that this individual wanted to go to. Also in July, we have another employee going to Merrimack Fire. Has not completed a formal exit interview, but certainly in conversations with me, the current full-time staffing level conversation absolutely came up. And I believe compensation moving forward for that individual will also be greater than where he's currently at. In August, we have a full-time employee going to Manchester Fire Department. This was his dream department to go to. Another one may be going to Concord, possibly in August. We have someone eligible for retirement in September. It doesn't help. We have 2 people on long-term medical leave right now. We're hoping to get them back within a month or so. And these personnel changes have a direct impact on day-to-day staffing, and again, our employees' safety, their health, and their well-being. Certainly asking the board, and I'll get to where I want to go in a minute. I'm certainly going to ask the board to think about that in a few minutes. So what have we done? So our mitigation strategies, the command staff and the members of the professional firefighters of Goffstown are actively meeting and discussing this at formal meetings every month, but we talk about it probably every day when crews are in. I've addressed this with some of this information with the select board in the past. I've reached out to my peers, fellow department heads. What are they doing? So maybe we're missing something that we could be doing better. And then we need to change our current staffing model from that. As we've changed over the years of the fire department, going from volunteer to a 4-person and 2-person model, we need to make a change immediately. And this is where my proposal that I'm looking for the board's support on. So what I'd like to propose is transitioning from 4 full-time firefighters, AEMTs, adding an additional 4, so that would mean 5 full-time firefighter, AEMTs, and/or paramedics, and continue to utilize the part-time staffing that we have. So go from a 4 and 2 to a 5 and 1 model. And again, remember, our part-time people are limited on how many hours they can work. We are actively recruiting as hard as we can to try to get that number up. But right now, most of those people, again, want full-time employment. And I know the question's gonna come, all right, chief, that's great. How you gonna pay for it? This is my proposal. So the 2021 appropriations for our part-time firefighters and part-time EMS totaled $434,000, almost $435,000. The current balance in those line items is $300,000. In the past, I've worked with the finance director to get what does it cost for a full-time firefighter? So I have that number. We were very aggressive, and to onboard people starting August 1st to December, that number would come up to $150,000
For how many people?
for 4, coming out of that $302,000
And that's bringing them in at what?
at the contractual rate.
But that could be if it's a firefighter that's got so many years of experience, you bring them in at a different rate. Did you factor that in at all?
So we started, when
Everybody
finance
up
director
at
and I
one?
met, we went by the starting wage on the contract, 2 of the employees with a single plan and 2 of the employees with a family plan. So those numbers could change if we hire 4 single people or 3 married people, so that could change.
If you hired somebody with 10 years of experience, you're not bringing them in at the bottom.
No, that would come up, so that number would change slightly, but again, we have $300,000 in that line right now, and I'm going with the minimum, because I don't know what their qualifications might be, but it would be up to $150,000. Again, this, I can't stress it enough, directly impacts these men and women behind me on a day-to-day basis. If I didn't think there was a way to do it, I wouldn't have come before the board tonight. I think this is a great opportunity for us to help our day-to-day operations. And next slide is, I'll definitely open it up to questions. And I would be looking for, sorry to interrupt. I would be looking for the board to take a vote this evening to either move forward with this or not.
I don't think that's fair. Personally, I don't think that's fair to throw that out, this information at us tonight without giving us a chance to do a little bit more studying and work on it. I hope you've got this in a presentation form so we can take a look at it. If you don't,
You
we
can absolutely do
should.
that. We can certainly go back through the numbers, but this is...
No, I mean, I want something in writing that we could, each of us can have to
Yep.
look at, take home and study. And just don't throw out a proposal like that and say, vote on this right now.
I understand. If this wasn't so critical, Mr. Chairman, I wouldn't ask that question, and I would happily. But this is, can't tell in my voice, this is so critical to this organization and to this community, and I will happily give that to you in writing.
I understand what you're saying, Chief, but there's still procedures, I think, that need to be followed. Number one, I think this needs to have the Budget Committee look at.
Happy to go in front of the Budget Committee.
Because when we look at this, and everybody needs to understand, when we look at this today, we have this in this budget right now, but when we go to doing our budget in December, what's that gonna look like? What's that $150,000 gonna look like?
Sure.
That's next year's budget, yes, but it's stuff, that's coming up. We're gonna be working on our budgets in the next month.
Understood, and I'm fully prepared to meet with the Budget Committee. I do know it's in this board's purview to go ahead and allow a department head to do this, because it is your budget. And again, I can't stress it enough.
Well, it's
I've
the
said
town's
it before.
budget, not just ours, but go ahead.
I've said it before, where I have sleepless nights worrying about the men and women behind me, and I'm here tonight giving you the best option that we have come up with. I met with the town administrator, and I think this is a great option for the crisis we're in right now.
Can I ask you what happened to our model we had a few years ago? I don't know, what was it, 3 years ago? We went and we decided to go with, raised up the number of dollars for the paramedics and EMT to drag get some of those people who come into our town to run our ambulance service. Whatever happened to that? We can't get those people?
Yeah, we've certainly had an influx of people. They also have full-time jobs now, so they're unavailable to work part-time for us.
Well, weren't there
Or some of them, because this is a union fire department. A lot of them they're not allowed by their unions to work here. So we're kind of in a jam, and we've certainly been actively recruiting all the time for part-time people. It's posted all
We
the
have
time.
another public hearing, right?
We do, yes, one last one. I don't know if you want to take questions up after that?
Yes. She can, hold on. Mark, you turn the light on?
Yep.
So this is our last public hearing.
Which one is that, 13?
Tab 12.
12? In compliance with RSA 31:95-B, the Goffstown Select Board is conducting this public hearing, receiving public input regarding the acceptance and expenditure of local fiscal recovery funds under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. It's ARPA, for a total estimated award of $1,889,962. I will open up the public hearing for anybody who has any comment or input. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Derek, do you want to talk about that at all, or do you think just wait?
Yeah, I
We
think I
talked
put
about it
quite a bit of
before.
detail in the packet for you. Goffstown is a non-entitlement unit of local government. Again, that $1,889,962. I put that as a total estimated award. That is our share of the funds coming. If there are other non-entitlement units, NEUs, that do not accept the funds, then the state has been directed to divvy that up to all the units of government that do accept it. So there could be additional funds available. There's really two buckets that this money comes in. One is to replace lost public sector revenue. There's a kind of a complicated calculation that, if accepted, that Danielle and I will be doing to calculate what that is. And then the town can use that amount to support government services in whatever way you kind of see fit. And then there's eligible spending. The biggest one that I think that Goffstown would be able to easily take advantage of are water, sewer, stormwater and wastewater, and broadband infrastructure. I'll make note that these funds need to be, I don't know if I put the specific wording in here, but you basically have to have a contract to spend these by December 31st, 2024, and they have to actually be spent by December 31st, 2026. So there is a substantial amount of time to develop what projects the town might want to pursue. But we do need the board to vote whether or not you want to accept these funds, because the state has put a deadline of August 18th to either accept, to turn over the funds to the state, or to do nothing. And again, if you do nothing, that just gets redistributed amongst the other communities that do accept the funds.
Why would somebody turn this down?
That's my
Out of
question.
curiosity.
I think for some of the smaller communities that don't have as many full-time staff, there is going to be an annual reporting requirement for this. Under your financial impact, you're going to be tasking department heads with developing a list of eligible projects. And also, there is going to be a cost potentially incurred, because if you spend more than $750,000 of federal money in 1 year, you have to pay for a single audit. So some of the smaller communities that don't have as much staff, they might choose not to, or turn it over to the state. But it's our recommendation to consider these. Again, I think just from the wastewater, stormwater, water, and broadband infrastructure alone, you could find eligible projects to use for this.
And it's not completely defined yet, what could it be used for, is that correct?
Correct. Right now, there's an interim final report that we've been reviewing and participating on webinars on. The final report is expected in late August of this year, which will be after the acceptance period.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
Motion to move forward and to allow
To accept the
to
funds.
accept the award of the money that's coming forward.
Second that.
Do you need a specific amount, Derek? Need the $1,889,962?
Yes, that'd be great.
Or if it comes in a...
If there's a change, then we may have to come back for those additional funds.
I'll amend the motion to make it $1,889,962.
And that was seconded by Jim. Any further discussion on it? Seeing none, all in favor? We still have to do roll call, by the way?
No, you do not. If
All
you're
in
over-
favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, seeing none, let's move on.
And can you add to that motion to authorize the town administrator to submit the application to the state of New Hampshire?
So done.
Sure.
Okay, Chief, you want to come back up? Is anything else after?
That's it for public hearing. Sorry, this is kind of a,
Crazy.
I just don't want to cut him off again.
No, yeah.
You know, I've been over there 3 times already, so.
When I sat down with Chairman Georgiantis, the deputy just made a comment. You were asking about like the paramedics. We have seen in the private industry, so your private EMS people, some of them have significant signing bonuses and upwards in the high 30s for paramedics. So way over where our union firefighters are at. So that's what the market is for those particular employees.
But we look for firefighter paramedics, am I right?
Yeah.
But we're not, do we actually, that's all I've seen. I haven't seen anything on advertised that you're looking for paramedics.
We ask for both all the time.
Okay.
Any application that comes in, we get the state list that comes out, we're calling them all, emailing them. They have fire certs, great. The paramedics, great.
And you've also submitted for a grant for 4 firefighters.
Absolutely,
And would you continue to go ahead with that grant?
absolutely.
So you
So
would
that was,
add an extra additional 8 to
So
our
that would,
department?
if I can answer it.
Go ahead.
So yes, we'll have the 4, and yes, the town approved the process of going for the grant and accepting that should we be successful. Where we're having such a shortage with part-time people, I would absolutely come to the board and say, we need to go the model with 6 and full-time, and then continue to use our part-time people to fill in with vacation, sick time, injuries. There's always somebody out. So
When's that grant
would-
coming out?
I don't know. I wish I had the answer for you. I don't know. The June to September timeframe. We're in July, or almost July, so I don't have that answer.
Mr. Chair, so you had made the comment that we shouldn't vote tonight, and I disagree for very specific reasons. One, we were just presented with information that it looks like our current design is quickly becoming obsolete or has become obsolete. Our call times are going up. People are showing up to shifts where they are not feeling overly safe because there's not other people there that should be. We're closing down a fire department that we say is open to the public, the 24/7. So I feel a strong responsibility. While I do understand the fealty to the budget and to the way that the budget was designed, I feel stronger that we need to make a vote tonight to allow the chief to do what he needs to do to get us out of this current crisis. I feel very strongly about that.
Anybody else have a comment? Mark? We know,
I know it all too well. I will pretty much back up and echo what Chet said, but I'll go one step further, being a retired firefighter. What's the price are we going to put on the life of one of the brothers sitting over there? We send 3 firefighters to a building fire. 2 go in, 1 stays out. Something happens inside, who's going to be there to back them up? Who's going to be there to protect their lives? I'm definitely in favor tonight of moving forward with the chief's recommendation. Not only life safety for the firefighters, to me, being in that family is more important than the life safety of the members of the town. It's a very hard balance for me to put together. I've been to too many funerals in my life, and we need to move forward tonight on this aspect of giving the chief permission to hire the recommended number that he wants to bring forward to us to hire the people as soon as he can.
okay. Jim, do you want to input? Oh, call us, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do. Before we get there, because that is the ultimate goal here, is to figure out how we're going to fix the problem, and what it's going to take in cost and manpower to fix the problem. But Chief, if I can just dive a little deeper, and I want to go back to, you were talking about some of the exit interviews.
Yes, sir.
And some of the comments were more money. That's an easy one to get our heads around. Everybody wants more
Sure.
money. We need to be competitive in the marketplace. That's true whether you're in the private sector or the public sector. We've got to be competitive in order to attract and retain qualified, good people. And that's true of the fire department or any department in town. The other one is a little bit more difficult for me to get my head around. There's some of the exit interviews. I think you said that one said They left because they were looking for a more desirable department, and one said that the department they were going to is their dream job.
Yes, sir.
To me, that's a little hard to get my head around, because what is those departments doing that we're not doing, that those people want to leave to go to those departments? You know what I mean?
Sure, let me just go back to that specific slide here so I can. So one I mentioned was a targeted department, and that was Nashua Fire Department.
Yep.
So this person, maybe one, lives in that area.
Okay.
And two, Nashua is a huge department, hundreds of members, and do only firefighting. So they first respond to EMS calls, but their only job is firefighting. Very similar model that Manchester Fire Department uses. So that's one of them. And another one was Desire Concord Fire Department. Two of my members, one's already gone, one wants to go there. They targeted them because they are both paramedics and want to be in very busy systems where they can utilize their skill over and over and over and become more and more proficient. So call volume was a drive for them, more opportunities for growth in a bigger department such as Concord. And then one of them lives in Concord and the other one lives a lot further north and would like to reduce his commute time.
Okay.
Is that?
No, that's very helpful, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a good
Jim?
presentation, I appreciate it.
Well, I think that we asked the chief a couple of weeks ago, right out of the blue, to come up with all these facts and figures so we could make a decision. And he did I think he did an admirable job doing that under time pressure. And I don't know what the budget committee is going to do with anything other than what we're going to do anyway. So I don't see any sense in waiting. I think it's that important. I agree it's that important. I think it's irresponsible for us to know that this issue is out there and then push it aside or kick it down the road.
What's the cost of this for next year?
So, I'll look back at Danielle because she helped me put together the numbers. So for 4 individuals, again, coming in at, I don't know what the next contract will bring, so just the current contract, the current starting rate, utilizing 2 of the family plan, 2 of the single plan, it's round number, $360,000. And what was appropriated this year in the part-time was that $435,000. So I would still absolutely highly recommend that we continue to use our part-time people, again, to fill in the gaps of when they're taking vacation, sick time, injuries, last-minute call-outs. We still utilize our part-time people, so.
So you would anticipate a reduction in the part-time line to compensate for the
shift into the other line, correct.
so we would not be seeing
You're not going to see it go up to
$300,000 increase in the budget next year to cover these positions.
You're correct. There would be a shift from those part-time wages into full-time and working with the finance director and the town administrator on how those funds are.
And that'll work, Danielle?
Yes.
Okay. So it's really not going to cost us anything more next year.
Correct.
So,
Mark, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, calls.
So I want to weigh in on the general concept of this. I agree that it's important. I think we need to take action right away. To me, there's nothing more important that we do than providing for this health, safety, and well-being of not only our brotherhood firefighters and EMTs, but the public in general. I mean, that to me is our priority, is to provide that public service that's so important to you folks as professionals and to the general public, to provide those services in a reasonable manner. So I support the concept of this. I think the numbers, if the numbers are what the numbers are, I'm sure that Danielle and Derek did a good job shaking the numbers out. So I'll rely on those numbers, and I'm ready to go forward tonight as well, because I think it is that important.
Well, I think where you've heard that it's not going to be an expense that the budget committee won't. We're not exceeding what we said we were going to do, and we're not putting more onto next year's budget automatically here. I don't see a reason why we wouldn't go. I do agree. Our most important thing is public safety, but we also have to be careful of the perception of what we're doing. And the perception is we're hiring 4 new full-time people without going through the process, and that's what's going to be looked at down the road, is how we did it. So I don't have a problem with it now, knowing we're not going to cost any more money. No, not just because that's what people look at. Mark?
I was ready to make a motion, if the rest of the board is
Yep.
amenable to it, to allow the chief to move forward with his new plan this evening to hire 4 full-time firefighters.
Second.
Any more discussion on it? We beat it enough?
Third, yeah.
Third. So we don't need to do a roll call vote anymore, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, the motion passes.
On behalf of the entire fire department, thank you. Thank you very much.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Chief, just one last question. On the interviews you did the other day,
Yes.
will that, the fact that we said yes tonight to the 4, will that kind of expedite matters a little bit?
Absolutely.
It will,
Yeah,
okay.
we've already met the old board team, met last week. We've done 2 recent rounds of hiring and kind of put together our strategy of our ranking for those
Okay.
and potential. Yep,
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Looking for a job, Mark? You looking for a job?
No, I've been in the business long enough.
We got rid of them once, they don't want to have to try it again.
I'll be the chief's aide and the chief's chauffeur, but that's about all I can do.
Next up, anybody have any new business, Derek?
I don't have any for you.
Okay. Old business, anything going? Anybody have? Mark?
I'd just like to comment, we had our Historic District Commission meeting, and the lady that did the curtains, I can't remember her name right now.
Chris Hadsell from Curtains Without Borders,
Yeah.
which is a nonprofit out of Vermont.
The curtains have been completely redone. They're hanging. They look beautiful. She did a show for us the other night. She showed us before and after pictures. There's one or two that's not hanging, but they'll be underneath, put away in safekeeping under the stage in Tyvek, all weather tight, weather sealed. But if you have a chance to come by and visit, those curtains look awesome. And I mean, the detail that's in the curtains, it's phenomenal. I just wanted to pass on kudos to the Historic District Commission, the employees that helped, and town people that helped, and town maintenance people that helped as well. Great job by all there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Let's go to the action matrix. First item, still, we're
Yeah, we're still working with the county
We're still working
commissioners.
with the county on that.
Yep, county administrator.
Chet, you're working on the review of personal plan policies.
I am.
When will we have that coming up?
Danielle are working, we meet about once a week, so I talked to you today, what did I say? I think I said January, correct, that we want to bring something forward in final form, so we're looking at January if we are actually able to meet
Okay.
4 or 5 times a month.
And the next item is, we should be taking that off, shouldn't we?
I'll take that off at your next meeting because we'll be scheduling that donation for public hearing.
Okay.
So that item will come off on your meeting on the 12th.
And how did we make out, just out of curiosity, with Mr. Draper?
Still working out the details on whether he wants to move forward with the reduced property. Yeah.
Okay.
Just,
Since-
Go ahead.
Since we're taking one off the action matrix, I'd like to propose putting one on just to keep the feng shui even, but I'd like to put the pedestrian bridge on the action matrix so we don't lose sight of it. That ad hoc committee has been meeting regularly. It's a great ad hoc committee. The members are fully engaged. They participate. They bring a wealth of knowledge to the committee. We've learned a lot. Our charter, although I will say our charter was to bring a report back to the select board in August. We may have to ask for a slight extension, but I'm not going to go out on that because I am not the chair of the committee. That'd be a committee, subcommittee, or ad hoc committee decision to make. But it's been a great committee. I think we should keep it on the matrix. So
Have the abutments been looked at?
yes, they have.
Okay.
There may be more that needs to be done because there's some stuff below the water line. They got to send divers in to take a look at.
Okay.
It's a great group.
Peter.
Mark?
And just dealing with the Ernie Smith,
That's the one we're taking off for public hearing.
yeah, but all the granite sidewalk have been put in, I've been by, they did a great job, so I just let everybody know that the work's been completed.
We will be having a public hearing
Yep.
on the 12th.
Yep.
Work completed on the Council of the Arts Moose Place grant with the curtains. That can come off now, Derek?
Yes, that'll come off.
Preservation tax map, that's still in the works, right?
Yeah, so that will stay on there. Typically, what the board's practice has been is to keep active applications on there until they come back for acceptance. So
Okay.
there'll be a little lull in activity on that one.
Engine 2, how much longer?
See the deputy smiling? He has been working on this tirelessly.
That
We
doesn't
still-
answer the question.
Because it's a warranty issue, the dealer and the manufacturer of the tank have been going back and forth, because neither one wants to take the full brunt of the cost of doing it. So they're working that out. It's still going to be a while, maybe a few more weeks.
Okay. That's one of our pieces of our equipment. That's a cup cost a few bucks, right? Go ahead.
Deputy, please.
Just so you know, my frustration is beyond with this. I speak to the shop manager on a daily basis, including the weekend, Pete Hamilton from Legion's Fire. He has been working very diligent with me. He's the one who's helped me with the warranty, pointing out that it is on UPF to absorb this. And they have actually reached out to Pierce in Wisconsin to try and pressure UPF to move on this. Unfortunately, we are at their literal whim. Nobody else can do the warranty work but UPF. If I say, Pierce, just go ahead and fix it for me, UPF writes off the warranty and says, so you're stuck now, whatever happens.
So in the future, we consider that when we go out to build a
Yes.
truck, that,
Yeah, but careful, Peter. UPF puts 99.9% of the poly tanks.
I will say, this is a unique situation in the fact that where the seam is, where it's leaking, there's just no way to access it to weld it. I've seen these guys work. They usually get under the truck, they go down the truck, they take a panel off. The only way for them to access this would to be cut the side of the truck open. And Pierce gave me a number of what that would cost. And it's exorbitant, and it actually just wouldn't be, it would probably put the truck out longer. So
do we have a legal claim here, Derek?
we could,
Let's talk about that when we get into non-public.
we could, unfortunately, because Pete's actually, the shop manager just pointed me out as to where we need to go with this. We'll have it done before we get anywhere with legal.
All right.
I put it on Pete today as to, I'd like an answer, at least because we're coming into the holiday weekend, and I know people are gonna disappear, and I have people that report to as well. It's not the first time I've had to be forceful, and that's why the chief likes to have me like that. So I honestly, I call them every day, and as soon as I know, the chief will know, and as soon as the chief knows,
You'll know. Adam, on your truck?
This week, should be back this week.
All right. Anything else?
Peter, did I miss something? Didn't we have a 6:15 appointment with somebody?
She had to cancel, and she's going to
I missed it.
reschedule for August.
I missed it, sorry.
Okay, before we close out, is anybody else here for public comment? Seeing none, take a motion.
Motion to go into non-public session under RSA 91-A:3, Roman 2, A, compensation, and D, land.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, seeing none. We'll be going into non-public now. Thank you.